Hello, everyone, and welcome yet again to Wild Moments, brought to you by Explore.org and, of course, Africam. We're starting off with some of my favorite animals. A whole lot of elephant bulls coming down to drink here at Old Donyo. After a busy day, no matter where you are in the world, it's always nice to kind of close it up, or I suppose wherever you are in the world, start it off with a little bit of wildlife. For me, it's kind of winding down the day, so this is excellent. Oh! If you're not sure what that is, it's a little tortoise caught amongst these elephant bulls. But anyway, before we get stuck in, if this is the first time that you're joining us, it's an opportunity to have a guide with you as we look across the different camps, which I'm sure lots of you do without a guide. So this time you get to ask questions because we're live and interactive. So send through those questions and those comments, no matter what they are. We've already got some coming through. We've got Gemma that says, good day all from New Jersey. It's cloudy and cold here. Well, today in Cape Town, Gemma, that's where I am at the moment. It is overcast and windy, but not too cold. Up in Old Donyo, it looks pretty nice and warm. You can actually see the heat rising. Oh, much like this tortoise. Look how unafraid this tortoise is. It's a leopard tortoise. Now I know for us it kind of feels very precarious to be in this position. Big elephants all around it. But it's basically unperturbed, and so are the elephants. And it's amazing how animals, and I noticed this especially with elephants, they really know their own size and are very self-aware. Now sometimes, depending on the group, they might get a little bit spooked by a tortoise moving around, especially one that's a little bit old like this, so the coloration is not very vivid. And it's a little dusty, so it can look a little bit like a rock or just a piece of earth. And so they can get a little spooked when it starts moving. But these old bulls have no doubt come across tortoises many, many times and are very, very chilled about it. That's so lovely to see. You might also see that a lot of their trunks are on the ground. Can you see that? Especially on the right there. So elephants communicate, or can communicate, infrasonically by picking up vibrations, and by placing the trunk down on the ground, it's almost like an extra antenna to receive those vibrations. And off our tortie goes. Oh, I love it when you see different species coexisting together. Sometimes it's a little bit funny, seeing them react to each other. And other times it's just such a beautiful thing to watch from a behavioral perspective, and also an ecological one. Amber Co, you say happy Tuesday to all. Thank you for this interactive show. I'm always learning something new. And you enjoy the hosts. Thank you very much, Amber. You are so dedicated. Every time I do this, I see your name come up, and Gemma as well. In fact, everyone that I'm about to mention. Thank you for consistently joining us. It's the reason that we do what we do, is because all of you are around and encourage us. Now we've got some red-knobbed coots, yes, they look like them, as well as some Egyptian geese. Got some white-faced whistling ducks as well there. Just towards the back. Lots going on here at Camp Dam. I really enjoy coming here because we see flamingos quite a bit, but we also get to see a different kind of landscape. It's I mixed up mostly and mainly, but both are correct. It's mostly a grassland kind of habitat, so we get a lot of these grassland, plains, game in the area, but also, of course, we have this nice big dam, which means that we get to observe some really cool bird happenings. Dear NC, you say good morning from Seattle. You're ready with your coffee. Oh yes. The time change makes it possible for you to watch the show live. I'm so glad for that, dear NC. Thank you for joining us. Glenda Newman Craft, you say hello from Indiana. Weedy in Washington, you say good day to everyone. A good day to you too. Hello, Zygote. You say hi, Tishala. Hi, Zygote. Oh, and we've got Bob from Kalamazoo says happy day, Tishala. Very happy day to you too, Bob. John, you say howdy everyone from the sunny Florida. And Mindy Tillapau, you say made it just in time. Hello. Hello to you too, Mindy. Thank you all for joining us. So you can see that all these birds are pretty much doing the same thing. One of the most important things they can do, taking care of their feathers. Now you can really see the namesake of these birds right here. The red knobs on their heads. Now lots of birds have this kind of appendage. Something that gets really pronounced during the breeding season and then kind of gets a little bit less so during non-breeding seasons. And those red knobs on the head are one of those things. They get really big and bulbous and bright during the breeding season and then sort of die back a little bit otherwise. But when we started here, I said to you that they're all doing something really important, that's taking care of their feathers. So in order to take care of their feathers, firstly, they've of course got to be able to realign them, which is what they're doing with their beak. And it's really helpful to have water around when you're doing that too, because water can wash away any pests and especially any bacteria that deteriorate feathers, and there certainly are bacteria that can do that. And any feather damage is going to be really difficult for the bird to recover from. It's going to have to basically get rid of that feather and regrow one. So the best course of action is to always take care of the feathers in the first place. Zygote, you see the red-billed teal at the top. Well, if it can stop cleaning itself and show us its face properly. Zygote, unless you're seeing something different to what I'm seeing, but I don't see a red-billed teal. Maybe it will come into shot again soon. But look at how so it's not just the beak that's working to clean these feathers, but also the necks. Really flexible. And the way that an entire animal comes together, as in the way that it evolves to its particular body shape at that time, is that it's a whole combination of whether each thing can do what it's meant to be doing. So the beak, and then also the neck, all those things coming together to be able, or resulting in what we see at the end. Okay, so we've asked the zoomies to zoom into the keel, but unless this is a juvenile, definitely. Well, let me first start with I'm unfamiliar with teals in general, not ones I've spent a lot of time with. But if I'm looking for a teal, I'd be looking for one, especially with a red-billed teal, is the red bill. And I'd also be looking for gray legs. So if you see the blue at the back of this teal's uh, feathers, the back of its body, you can see that it's got that kind of bluey green sheen, but it's also got a gray bill. That would look a little bit more like a Hottentot teal. But the yellow legs are throwing me off, I must say. But the general shape is definitely right for a teal. So maybe we have simply have a juvenile. Ah, okay. That makes more sense. Thank you very much. Uh, Tess has just told me that the Hottentot teal is now called the blue-billed teal. So that makes a lot more sense. Thank you very much. The names of birds are constantly changing and sometimes really for really important reasons. In fact, when I said Hottentot teal, I was almost uh, not sure if I should say that, but it's the name of the bird that's the name that I know. Uh, but it's not a very um, it's not a very appropriate word in South Africa. So thank you for that, Kirst. Laura MC, you say good morning from Texas. Since the time change, you're moving about like the tortoise. I hope that means that you're moving about with so much of gusto that you can walk amongst the feet of elephants. That's what I hope that means, Laura MC. Ooh. Oh, it looks like we have a terrapin. So this is something I've wanted to chat about for a while. It's something I've seen so obviously over quite some time actually, is this red algae. And so often it happens that we end up with a whole lot of animals in the camps, which is absolutely fantastic because the purpose of this is to be able to explore these animals and talk about them together. But I'm very glad that we're getting to talk about this red algae at the same time. You would have seen the terrapins moving about in it. So this pond is still very, very, very alive. But I think it's quite cool to give this algae a mention because we see it all the time. It just doesn't get that much attention. So what we're seeing is an algal bloom. So algae is constantly existing in the water, but certain times when conditions are really right for that specific algae, they'll begin to bloom and we get these red blooms like this. There's all different types of algal blooms. You might see it as this, and this doesn't sound very nice, but as like a green scum. And those are also blooms, it's just not red. But in this case, it's red. Now, not all red algal blooms are toxic, and I know that a lot of times we associate the red algal blooms with certain toxicity, and certainly they will change the chemistry of a water body. But at the moment, I think it's still pretty okay. The terrapins were moving around in it, and if the terrapins are moving around in it, then there must be sufficient prey items for them. within this water, or at least near it. But something that algae does that is actually not related to the chemistry of the water, or sorry, algal blooms do, that's not related to the chemistry of the water, is cutting off light source. So it can become a dense carpet. You can see that there's breaks in there, but look at this edge here. Parts of it are quite solid. And what that does is limit the amount of light that can get in, penetrate, to get down into the water, which then affects any vegetation that's growing in the water, any other algae, and even to the extent of limiting especially those animals whose greatest sense for finding prey is visual, it's blocking light. So that's usually something that can happen that can be quite bad. The other thing that can happen, not so much with algae, but with certain bacteria that get into water sources, is that they can start consuming a whole lot of oxygen and consume so much oxygen from the water, that is, because remember, algae are photosynthesizers, so they're getting their oxygen from the air as well. But bacteria can create an anoxic environment, which basically means that they start to consume all the oxygen in a pond. And that can be really, really bad for pretty much any animal living in it. Great. I'm very glad that I got to give this red algae some love. Birding travels, I think I agree with you. I was just having a look at my bird app. Sorry, I'll give you context now. It's just that I just saw this comment come up, and I've also been looking at my birding app because it didn't feel like it had the same shape as a teal, but it was not right. Something was not right. So birding travels. You say Zygote and Ian and Jen's and also mine. You say that the blue teal is actually what looks like a Cape shoveler. And I agree with you. So that's where I've arrived at as well. Because for the teal, okay, so now we're not looking at the teal. If we can find the teal, that would be nice. We're now looking at some white-faced whistling ducks. I don't know where our Cape shoveler has gone. So the thing with the teals is that none of them have these yellow legs that we saw earlier, even though the blue patch on the side suited the blue-billed teal and the color of the bill as well. But the yellow legs were not right. So I hope that we'll be able to see it again, because I really 100% agree with you, Birding Travels, that it is a Cape shoveler. Thank you so much for that, because it takes time for us to actually go, and look through our bird book or our app. The Roberts Birding app is my favorite birding app. We're just having a look for the teal at the moment, but thank you very much for that, because I was trying to look at it while still trying to talk to you, which is sometimes a little bit difficult. Hopefully it's still around, because that's a wonderful one, and I must say, one that I haven't seen in person. That would be a great one to add to my virtual list, if that makes sense. Mindy Tillapau, you would like to know, do all birds defecate on their legs as a cooling mechanism? No, all birds do not. So that's something we see. I mean, the most famous bird that does that is a marabou stork. And it can be quite effective. because remember that whatever percentage of heat is being lost by those legs because they're unfeathered, they can reduce it substantially by defecating onto it. But it's not something that's very common, and it's something that is particularly noted in marabou storks. Stuck in bed. Sorry, I'm getting to yours and Jan Power's hellos a little bit late. Stuck in bed, you say, hello, Trishana. Hello, stuck in bed. It was a very excited hello. Jan Powers, you say, hi from a sunny Arizona. It's nice to hear your name again. But unrelated to your name, actually. It seems that our teal has gone. But thank you, Birding Travels. You are absolutely correct. Oh, so much going on here. Old Donio. The biggest and the tallest together. I love seeing giraffe and elephant together because it's just so much, so big, so heavy, so tall. Oh, imagine being a privileged guest to be sitting here and watching this. Quite honestly, as privileged as we are, even though we're watching it virtually. I think this is it's amazing. In fact, Jason W., you'd like to know, do the animals show much interest in the guests at resorts or at lodges? I mean, sometimes they do. I guess it all depends. One thing that I've learned that is really something, I don't know how to describe it, but from a research background, I don't really think of wild animals in the sense of personality. So I can understand in the sense of the way that they behave can be different amongst individuals, but essentially their goal was the same. And when you're in research, there's not really names for animals. It's just, you know, X23 did this or whatever. And since being a guide, one thing I've really learned is how different animals have different personalities, and I mean distinct individual personalities. Where one leopard will do this, another will do that. Where one elephant will do this, another one will do something ridiculously different. And so whether they show interest in guests or not very much depends on their personality. And I mean that in the truest sense, what their personality is. For example, we've had a leopard that would do all sorts of crazy things. He seemed to be so comfortable around humans and human things. And he would sit on tables or look at you as you're doing things. And I don't mean safari-related things. I mean, for example, when I'm going up to read a book, just happen to be sitting on a deck reading a book, then he comes up to look at me. Things like that. So it all depends on the animal. And then there's another leopard that I know who, if he spots me from meters away, will turn around and walk away. Would prefer to be as far away from humans as possible. So it all depends. But animals are definitely aware of human beings. And oftentimes we are told that animals are not able to differentiate us from the vehicle because it's just a single mass, or appears to be a single mass to them. And I do understand that because the animal may not know where. Sorry, what does this giraffe have in its mouth? Oh, it's just an oxpecker. Never mind. So what I was saying is that in a safari vehicle, animals may not know where you start or where you end. you may be this entire vehicle, maybe you're just part of this vehicle. It's difficult for them to tell, to differentiate you. And that's especially important for predators, because when predators zone in to a particular individual in a herd, it's very important that they're able to pick them out, because that's when they kind of give themselves a boost of energy to go ahead and get at that single prey. So it's really important to be able to pick out a single individual. And when you're in a safari vehicle, that can't be done. And I understand that. But that being said, animals have looked me directly in my eyes. Not at my body, not vaguely, not past me, directly at me. And it's hard to imagine that they don't know what I am if they know where to look. Or maybe it's just a natural thing to look at something in its eyes. But whatever it is, I think that animals know what we are. And certainly some animals are very curious about guests and lodges, because it's just part of their environment. Many a time wild animals will walk into the lodge property, and that's part of it's part of the experience. It's also part of their home. I'm sure I don't have to go into too much detail about what's happening right here, but this giraffe bull is a little bit interested in this younger individual. It looks like a female, and she's finally decided that it's safe enough to pop her head down and have a drink. This is a wonderful thing to see, because giraffes will only do this when they feel very comfortable, because it is a very compromising position for them to be in. Apart from having to splay their legs, they've got to lower their head. And so much is compromised when you have to lower your head. Your hearing, your vision, your general situational awareness as a result. And you'll see that she gets up very, very quickly. And that's important, because the weight of the neck and the head needs a little bit of an extra jolt to get it up seamlessly. And you can also see that they're a little weary of the elephants. And that's not because they think that they will cause them harm. It's also just an instinctual thing. If a large, in fact, this doesn't have to be a large animal. If another animal is around, that you're a little bit cautious. And I guess also when it comes to elephants, you can never tell if you're going to just move the wrong way. Especially if one's got a bit of a bee in their bonnet, which they sometimes tend to be. Back in bed, you'd like to know if Eldonio has gotten any rain yet? Oh, has also gotten rain, because everything down south this side has gotten a lot of rain. I'm not sure that Eldonio has, at least not that I've seen, and I mean, judging by this waterfall, it's not looking particularly big. Full, that's the correct word. But I'm not sure stuck in bed. Inspector Gadget, you say animals know we are humans. I absolutely agree. I think they know us, and it's obviously we have a little baby zebra here at Tal. But Inspector Gadget, it's not just about whether they know we're humans as in a species, but it's more about, do they know when we're in a vehicle, or when we're in a lodge, or if they see us through the window, do they still know it's us? And for me, I think they do. I agree with you. Mindy Tillipau, you say that must be an awesome feeling. It is an awesome feeling when they look at you straight in the eyes. It's really, really incredible. Anyway, this baby zebra is chilling as it should with the safety of the herd around. It looks very, very comfortable. And maybe it's going to have a nap. Now, I wish I could say I was going to have a nap, but I'm not. But I am going to leave you. So thank you all for joining us. It's been wonderful to catch up and to spend this time together. We've had so many wonderful animals to spend time with, and of course all of you. So thank you for your questions and your comments. I'll see you on Thursday, and you'll hear me again on Tuesday. Bye for now.